Mic Drop Moments is sponsored by Grow Radio. Want to launch your own podcast? Grow Radio are here to help. Grow Radio has launched and supported countless podcasts, and they'd love to do the same for you. Just hit record and they'll handle the rest. No editing stress, no technical faff, just a great podcast released when you want. Need a little extra support? Grow Radio's workshops and courses make getting started easy. Let's bring your podcast to life. Message Grow Radio on social media or reach out to Gary Jones, the founder of Grow Radio. Let's make this happen. Welcome to Mic Drop Moments, and today I'm chatting to Maddie Alexander Grout. Hello, Maddie.
Hello, Sandra. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great, and I don't do introductions. I don't read out long bits of blurb about my guests. I let them introduce themselves. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Perfect. So I'm Maddie Alexander Grout. I am a multi-potentialite. If you've not heard that word before, essentially it means that I do all of the things and I'm really happy with it. I niche based on how I can help people and their values and their beliefs rather than kind of industry specific or people specific. So I do a few things. I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I am a ADHD business and money coach. I am a community leader. I have a membership called Invisible to Influential. And I also help people to get unstuck and make more money in their business.
And there is a reason you do all that, isn't there? Because, I mean, I think you've explained this. I'm one of your members. You're in my membership. We've known each other for several years. And I think you are the type of person that you come across to me, and don't take this the wrong way, as the type of person that does a lot. And you
Yes.
probably, and I think because of your ADHD, I think you go in all and you're all consuming, and you do something and then you're on to the next thing and then you're on to the
Yeah.
next thing, and it's very, and I'm very similar in some respects, although not diagnosed
Yes.
with ADHD. I've got a very short attention span. 6 months is my maximum usually. But I
I'm
also
surprised actually that I've managed to keep a membership going. It's nearly our year anniversary. But I love it. I really do. And I do a lot because I'm an ideas person. One of the reasons why I became an ADHD business coach was because of the fact that I have way too many ideas for myself. And if I followed all of them, I don't think I would actually sleep or see my family or look after my children or do any of those things. So I just go full throttle and I do all of the things that I want to do in a very weighed up business strategic way. And then all of my other random ideas, I just gift them to other people, like mainly my clients.
yeah,
There's lots of things
exactly
in there.
from. I basically I pour all my ideas out into an ideas book, and my very first business was an idea in an ideas book, and they just sit there and I brainstorm them and I come back to them, and then I see which ones were absolutely useless and come back to the ones that were really good. So let's take you right back, Maddie. As I say, I've known you for a few years, and
Yeah.
life hasn't been straightforward, and you've got
Hmm.
some pretty chronic illnesses going on there as well. So take me back and tell me how you got to be doing what you're doing today.
So I was kind of a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't ever think that running a business was for me, but I also didn't fit into the working world. At one point, I think I counted that across all of my years of being alive, I've had like 27 jobs. And for the last 10 years, I've been self-employed. So in the space of about 20 years, that is more than one job a year. I was a serial job hopper. I couldn't find my space in the working world. I got bullied. I was always the oversharer. It turns out that people don't really like hearing about your love life on a Monday morning, especially if it's in graphic detail. And I was just that person who made people feel uncomfortable in the workplace because I was just unable to filter what came out of my mouth. And I'm still very much the same, but I own it now. So it took me a while to find my place, and I eventually, and I'm pretty sure that my boss in my last job knew that I had ADHD and that I was autistic because she got me a work coach. Now, I don't think that you just randomly get given a work coach unless they suspect something. So I got this work coach, and it turned out he was absolutely amazing, and he really helped me after I had my son to be able to kind of understand what my skills were, understand where I was actually being like somewhere where I could be utilized essentially. So I had my son, I had postpartum psychosis, which is the world's worst mental health condition that you can have with a newborn. I didn't want to be around. I didn't want him to be around either. And that was really, really tough. I started a parenting forum, which was just a little hobby. And then I got made redundant. I found out in the December, and I said to my husband, look, I can't find another job. It's taken me so long to find this job where I'm thriving. Everything else has been like huge mistakes. Like I've been in all of these places and just never really thrived until now. And he said, well, why don't you start your own business? I said, well, I don't really know what I would do. And he said, well, what about something around the parenting arena? And I'd actually previously been in £45,000 worth of debt when I was in my 20s. And he said, like, well, you know how to save money. Why don't you help parents to save money? So I came up with this idea because I've always been a massive fan of supporting small businesses. And I wanted to set up something that would help to champion local businesses around me. So I set up this discount card, and it was really successful. Like for the first 3 years of running it, it was growing year on year. I was doubling turnover, I was getting in the press, I was being seen, I was showing up. And I mean, I wasn't running it in the best way, let's be honest. Like I didn't know I had ADHD at this point. Um, so I was running it like I was kind of like looking for all the kind of the neurotypical guru type people. I was following, all of these big names and not really understanding why I wasn't really getting anywhere. And I was always told that if you're launching something like a tech product, you need to get investors. You have to get investors. So I did that. Worst experience of my life, didn't go very well. I would never ever ever get investors ever again, and if you hear me asking for investment, come and remind me of this. But it was a bad situation, but anyway, it was all growing, it was all fine. I franchised it, and I had 27 franchisees across the country who were all helping to support small businesses, and I felt amazing. It was really good. And then the pandemic came along and like pooped all over it, basically. It was just, you can't shop local when you can't leave the house. So my business overnight just became completely null and void. And instead of doing the thing that I should have done and admitting defeat, closing it down and going on to Universal Credit, 'cause there's no shame in that, I kept going because I'm really stubborn. And I took on a load of debt finance. I took on more investment from people who I was just desperate to receive money from. And I didn't do my due diligence on them. I didn't check out who they were as people. And I burned myself to the ground. I had the worst burnout. I ended up at the end of 2022 with £80,000 worth of debt and no money in the bank, not being able to pay my creditors, not being able to pay myself. I mean, I didn't pay myself for 6 months. I had to make my ops director redundant, and to make her redundant, I took out a personal loan because I didn't want her to go without. And I struggled really badly. I didn't get out of bed for like 6 weeks. And in that process, I I kind of found myself a little bit, but I also crashed so badly. And I grieved for a business. I didn't even think that that was possible, but I was absolutely heartbroken. I later discovered that that was rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is very common with ADHDers. It's not just an actual rejection, it's a perceived rejection. And I had people coming at me from all angles. People owed me money. I had debt collectors coming. There was a tiny bit of small print in the £80,000 worth of money that I borrowed that said personal guarantee. So I ended up coming out with a further sort of £45,000 again. And after I'd already cleared the first 45, I felt like I was an absolute loser and that nobody would ever want to talk to me again. I went to work for the person who bought the assets of the business because he needed a handover. And of course, he had deep pockets. So it started thriving again really quickly, which was just testament to how good my idea actually was in the first place. And he asked me to be CEO after 6 weeks, and I told him very unpolitely, and we can't swear on this radio show, to go F himself. Then I had nowhere to go. I was an influencer at this point, so I had about 40,000 followers on TikTok, and I decided that I was going to make content about money because it's what I knew. And at that point, I did one to many with Lisa Johnson, and I wrote down all of the things that I was good at. And the overarching theme was that visibility was the thing that I was good at. I was good at public speaking. I was good at showing up and doing podcasts. I was good at getting in the press, like doing radio stuff, collaborating with other people. And I thought, there's probably not a business there. I mean, we both know that that's not true because it's what we both do. but but I just thought that that's kind of the way I need to go. I just had my ADHD diagnosis, and my autism diagnosis as well. So I retrained as a neurodiversity coach. So not just ADHD, I do all neurodivergent conditions. I feel like ADHD is my kind of big one though. That's what I know and understand the most. Still trying to get to grips with the autistic diagnosis because I never thought I was until I started taking my ADHD meds, and then I was like, oh, there you are. Kind of unmasked me. And we're now 2 years down the line. I started a membership because I wanted to create some passive income. And my membership, which is for basically for entrepreneurs who want to be seen, heard, and understood. And that involves a lot of neurodiversity and the queer community, people who are from kind of underrepresented or marginalized backgrounds. And it's to help them to show up authentically as them, because I really have a passion for helping people to own their stuff and show up as themselves in order to make more money, because that's exactly what I've done. So I am just about to be debt free for the second time. Fingers crossed, there will be no other ADHD tax mishaps that will land me back in the same situation. I've got a book that's coming out in approximately 6 weeks, called Mad About Money. It is my unfiltered, basically, it's a journey of managing finances and life with ADHD, and that includes a lot of business stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. And it is unfiltered. You've said, I've heard you
Yes.
say that it's a warts and all reveal. The highs, the
Yeah.
lows, the everything is in there. And
Absolutely. And like this story, with every nook and cranny, essentially. So you can read about like how I was feeling, how my mental health was, how I scraped myself out of bed. It was actually quite a life-changing thing that happened to me that made me go, Maddie, what are you doing? You're grieving for a business that actually isn't serving you anymore. So you need to move on. It's really hard when you lose a business because you feel like, especially because I've been running it for 5 years, and it was actually how I met you. Like it was the first business that I got nominated for an award with, and actually I won like 15 business awards with that business. It was a good business. It was just a terrible situation, and I'm not blaming the pandemic because I think eventually it probably would have failed anyway because I wasn't running it to the best of my ability. I didn't know I had ADHD. Getting that diagnosis and realizing that I work in a different way to other people was the thing that made me go, right, I know, okay, all of these pieces fit together. The reason I'm bad at money and the reason I'm bad at business, which I'm not anymore, it was because I was trying to do things in a neurotypical way. And that's, it's like shoving a round peg into a square hole, or square peg into a round hole.
yeah, yeah.
Just,
I always used to call it shiny object syndrome, but I don't
oh, I
think
have
it
that.
is. I don't think it is shiny object syndrome. I think it is that. And when you said, you sort of got bored with jobs, I think I probably was in the late 20s or 30s in my jobs as well. 6 months,
Yeah.
I'd be looking for something else, or a transfer, or the next step up, or a new job, or something. And I don't know what that was, whether that was I always thought it was just because I was ambitious for the next level, but I think it was boredom. I think I got bored
Yeah.
very, very quickly, and that's why I'm constantly innovating, constantly improving, changing, tweaking, with a strategy, because you can't
Yes.
and that's learning. My first business, after 3 months, I burnt the business basically
Yeah.
because there was no cash flow. I didn't know what cash flow was. Nobody teaches you these things in the early stages, but
They
I think
don't.
I think making those mistakes actually is good because we learn.
We do. And I think if that business hadn't failed, I wouldn't have known what to do with the next one. And I don't regret a single thing. Like everything that I did, like I did for a reason back in those times. It sounds like olden days. It was 2 years ago. But the difference that making, understanding your brain does for your business is just incredible. So the change happened for me when I owned my story, showed up authentically as myself, got ridiculously visible, had a plan and a strategy behind it, and the right people around me. I think those 5 things are the things that really you need to focus on. Because
And
without one of those, you're not going to do it.
yeah, and looking at, what's happened recently, I mean, I know you've got the book coming out and we'll talk about that in a
Mm,
second, but, you have been your authentic self, you have put yourself out there, and one of the downfalls of putting yourself out there is you do get attacked and people do come for you.
yeah.
And you've had some very, very high profile newspapers come for you recently
Oh,
in
I
a
have.
not very nice way. I mean, I think one of the terms they used was sickfluencer. I mean,
Yes.
you flipped that round, obviously, and you made light of it, which I loved. But that must hurt when something like that happens initially before you
Yes.
process it. How do you deal with
Yeah. So do you know what? Yesterday's was hard because I think so the first time I went really viral and ended up on the front page of the Telegraph and the Daily Mail was in January. They called me a sickfluencer, and essentially a sickfluencer is somebody who helps people to apply for benefits that they're not entitled to. What I do is I help people to get the information that is readily available. I educate people on how to apply for benefits if they are entitled to something. So if they have a disability, if they're struggling, they don't necessarily need a diagnosis to be able to apply for these benefits. And that's not my rule, that's the government's rule. So I am just talking about the things that help to support people in my community. And that was massively turned around. And I was kind of made out to be some sort of criminal. And they asked me for comments, and they didn't listen, and they just went and ran with the story before I had the chance to actually say my bit. So yesterday, I got interviewed by the Daily Telegraph, or the Daily Tory Graph, as I like to call them, and because I thought, you know what, if they interview me, I can get my points across and it will be absolutely fine because they can't, they can't throw me under the bus if I am telling my side of the story. But they can. Oh, well, wow, they can. So what they did was everything that I said, they put their own words around it to change the context of what I'd said. So they said that I was bragging about the fact that I don't have to claim PIP. Like I wasn't bragging actually at all. I was saying I don't claim PIP because I'm very, very fortunate and privileged enough to be in a position where I don't need to. I've got a really good support network. I earn my money. I don't need to claim PIP. So I don't claim PIP because I don't want to take it away from other people, which is actually something I tell people not to do because it's not means tested. It's actually not something that people need to do, but they have twisted that into just hatred. So when it came out yesterday, the first thing I knew about it was a BBC journalist who I've worked with before messaged me and he was like, "Hey Maddie, are you okay?" And actually, I had a few journalists reach out to me yesterday to say, "We're not all like this. Please, please don't lose the faith." Which was lovely, actually. It's really nice when you know that there are people on your side. And I had so many people saying to me, "Why do you do it? Why do you go and get interviewed by these horrible papers if you know that they're going to throw you under the bus?" And my answer is always, if the papers I hate are hating on me, it means I'm doing something right. And the amount of people that have connected with me, have reached out with messages of support. In a day, I've got over 2,000 new followers just from yesterday. I've got a speaking gig. I've got a local council who want to, they want me to come in and support their staff through all of this. So that's why I do it. I do it because it helps me to get my message out to people who will understand me. the people that hate me, the people who think I'm a benefit fraudster, the people who think I'm, bucking the system in some way, that's on them. And if people are going to be one of the 0.5% of people who are disability fraudsters, that is not on me. That is on them 100%. I just give the information, and if people are going to be dishonest with it, that is 100% on them, not me. So I'm always going to fight my corner. And with the visibility thing, I talk about, and everything that I do in my business, I show up with my values, my beliefs, and my ethics. And I always stick to those 100%. So if people don't want to be in my world because of my values, my beliefs, and my ethics, they're not my people.
And that's key, really, isn't it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
always going to be somebody in life, and I've been around for decades. There's always going to be somebody that's going to try and knock you down, or
Yeah,
that shows jealousy sometimes, or something. But as soon as you put yourself on that pedestal, or put yourself out there, or put your opinions out there, there will always be somebody ready to knock you down. But they're not your people. They're not the right
they're
people.
not. They're
And
not.
you just have to. My mum always said something to me when I was little: pick yourself up, brush yourself down, and tomorrow's another day. And, good
Exactly.
advice, really. Good old-fashioned advice. Just
Yeah,
move
it
forward.
is. And I think a lot of people see this and see it happening to me and think, I can't get visible in case that happens to me. I promise the first time is really horrible, but when it happened yesterday, I was laughing. Like my husband came home from work, he was like, "Oh, I saw the front page of the Telegraph." And I said, "Yeah, it's quite funny, isn't it?" He was like, "Yeah." And then we ate pizza. It's water off a duck's back now, because I know that what I'm doing isn't wrong. I'm standing up for those people who can't always stand up for themselves. And for that, I am proud of myself. I will never stop banging the drum. I'm always going to be a disability champion. I'm always going to be somebody who is disabled myself. The things that I've got aren't going away. And it's hard sometimes to run a business like that. But I am there for people who need that support.
And let's go back to the book now, because the book is due for release
It
in.
is.
At the
Show
time
it.
it goes out, it will probably be just about to come out. So we will share the link in the show
Yes.
notes. How hard was it writing that book?
Hard. So you see people saying, "Oh yeah, everyone's got a book in them." I was always the person who thought I didn't have a book in me. Like I've always been somebody who likes reading, but especially kind of since getting my ADHD diagnosis and my dyslexia diagnosis, I kind of thought, oh well, I can't read because I'm dyslexic. Completely forgetting about my younger years where I used to read all the time and I was a proper bookworm. And then I heard about a course, well, like a free program that a lady called Shah Rosamond was running, the published expert. And I thought, I'm curious. So I went along to her free bit, and I actually started to gain some confidence in myself. And I thought, maybe I can do this. So I started brainstorming ideas, and then I paid to go on her course because I thought, you know what, actually, I probably should write a book. I've got a lot of stories and I'm all about the storytelling. So maybe I can do it. And I started her course, and I was about 2 weeks in, and I got a random LinkedIn message from somebody saying, "Hey, Maddie, we're really interested in chatting to you about writing a book." And I thought, you get these like awards emails where it's like, "Do you want to be in the top 100 most influential women in the world?" or whatever, like you get all these Instagram messages. I kind of thought it was one of those. So I didn't pay too much attention to it. In fact, I completely ignored it for about a week. And then she messaged me again, and she was like, "Hey, I don't know if you saw my message." And I said, "Oh, sorry, I did. I haven't really thought about writing a book. What did you have in mind?" And she said, "Let's jump on a Zoom." So we jumped on a Zoom, and lo and behold, she was a real life human. And I felt really embarrassed for thinking it was a scam. Also, a local publisher to me, like I've been in their offices when I used to work in recruitment. So I knew who they were. They're the people who do the dummies books, like IT for dummies and stuff. And I thought, do you know what? Like I know these guys, they're credible. And then I thought about it, and I thought, oh, like if they're interested, maybe I should contact a few others like Penguin and Hay House and those kind of people. And I got a couple of other offers, but then I thought about it, and I thought they've contacted me for a reason at the right time. everything in my life happens for a reason. And I'm so glad that I picked them over one of the bigger ones, because I have been a big fish in a small pond, and they have been super supportive with me with all of my quirky neurodivergent stuff. They have given me some really big hand holding that I don't think anybody else, like I've had an editor who I've literally like sat down and read my entire story and embellished on points and added bits in and taken bits away. And it's, I think doing this on my own would have been really hard. So I think self-publishing from a money perspective is a really good idea. But for me, I think going down this route was the thing that actually made me think it gave me confidence in myself as well, that people actually wanted to hear what I've got to say. And it's not even been released yet. And I hit the best new releases on Amazon a couple of weeks ago. So that was really cool. And it's scary because I genuinely feel like I have got naked in front of lots of people, because there are things in this book that I've never spoken about publicly. And I'm very open and very honest. People know a lot about my story, but they don't know what's in this book. It's got lots of things that will help you with your brain. It's got lots of things that will help you with your money, with your business. You don't have to be neurodivergent. You don't have to be neurodivergent to read it, but I think it helps because you'll kind of relate to it a bit more. And it's kind of a mixture of like a book that's going to teach you stuff, but also a book that's going to tell you some really funny stories and all of the times that I've messed up in my life and the resilience of all of the things that have happened. And there have been some like, wow, how did you survive that type moments? And you can read all about them in the book. So
I mean, for the people that are listening, it's a huge book, isn't it?
it's massive.
It's massive. You said it's as big as my head, but it
is
massive.
literally the size of my head. I think it is. But I think when it arrived, I was shocked and I thought, oh my God, no one's going to want to read this because it's massive. And I thought about it. I thought, actually, I don't do things small. Like I show up in a big way. So of course my book is big. And it means it's multifunctional. So, yellow pages don't exist anymore. So if you're short, you can stand on it. You can use it as some form of weapon.
Doorstop.
Doorstop. If you want to save some money on your energy bills, you could use it as like one of those things that stops the draft excluder. You can use it as something to whack your husband with if they snore. It has multi uses. So I feel like its size is reflective of the information and the knowledge that's in there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we will share the link in the show notes. So what's on the horizon, Maddie? What's coming up?
So Visible Fest. So Visible Fest is my my online festival, which is basically it's a summit for people to be seen, heard, and understood. It's focusing on visibility within business, but also visibility for yourself. Looking after yourself behind the scenes so that you can show up, your money mindsets, like all of the things behind. It's actually a free event, so people can register for it for free. There is an upgrade, which means that you get access to all of the recordings and all of the nice things in the background as well. We did it last year. It's in my very self-indulgent, self-named universe online, which is called the Maddieverse. When you see it, you'll understand. It's like I was sick of boring Zooms. Like Zooms are just meh. Like, and my audience just wanted something a little bit more exciting. So we found this really cool platform, and I created a festival, and we had 600 people turn up last time, and it was really good. We have over 75 speakers. I have my work cut out for me all the time, but they're all people who have got amazing stories, amazing things to teach people, lots of different variations of life and representations of people, and I'm very excited about it. So that's on the 7th and 8th of May. I'm relaunching my program, which is called Amplify Your Influence, which is all about helping you to get more visible in whatever way that looks like for you, whether you're a complete beginner or you're somebody who is quite far along their journey, who just wants to get that next step up. And that's going to be in September. Holiday, could do with a holiday, to be honest. It's been a year already. I've just had a breast cancer scare. Luckily, this is a really weird thing. So I had a lump and I went to the hospital to get the lump checked out. While I was in the middle of my mammogram, they were like, you need to get that mole checked out. So I was like, why? They said, well, it's three different colours, it's raised, it's bumpy, it's a funny texture. Has it grown in the last couple of years? Yes, maybe. So I had to go and have a mole extraction, which was not the most pleasant because I found out that, even though I kind of already knew, that my body doesn't react well to anaesthetic. So in the middle of them removing it, the anaesthetic wore off. Never been in that much pain. I think, actually, apart from labour, it was the worst thing I've ever been through. Kind of traumatizing. Everything came back okay, but it was a hard few weeks, and that was how I started my year.
Yeah,
So I'm
a weird
definitely.
one, that. I don't freeze on local anaesthetic either. And when they reset my wrist a couple of years ago, when I broke my wrist and I had to go and have it reset, they injected it with local anaesthetic, which had no effect
Hmm.
whatsoever.
I
That
had an epidural that didn't work.
that's more painful than childbirth.
Well, I mean, the thing was, like, I had a really traumatic labour with my first, and I didn't get my epidural until I was 17 hours in.
Wow.
And it was a very, very long labour. So the first thing I did was ask for an epidural. They came in really quickly. They gave it to me. It didn't work. They did a second one. That didn't work either. And then I ended up with a 50p piece on my leg that was numb. I was like, that's not going to help anyone. Whilst swearing profusely and mooing like a cow, according to my husband. Um, but it's a very common thing for people who have got ADHD to not respond well to anaesthetics.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Well, sadly, we've run out of time. I always ask my guests to leave us with a piece of advice, a top tip, your mic drop moment.
Living your life by your values is the thing that's going to make you successful, because the right people will come into your world and they will want to spend money with you. They will actually be begging to work with you because of the fact that they know you already. So just show up as you.
Absolutely love it, Maddie. We've been chatting today to Maddie Alexander Grout. It's great to see you, great to chat to you, and we'll share all your details in the show notes. Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks for having me.